Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Phil and I typically do reaction videos, but today we're going to be talking about reviews and specifically comic book reviews, which is something that I'm going to be starting on this channel. And so yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about that and where I stand with comic books in general, and then I'm going to kind of give you an idea of where I'm going to start this. So yeah, let me just get started by explaining a little bit of where I stand when it comes to comic books. Growing up, the first comic book that I read was actually Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think I still have issue 1 of like the original Archie Sonic the Hedgehog. I think now it's what is it, IDW? I think Sonic's on IDW. I don't know, but anyway, that was really the only comic book I read when I was a kid, and I really didn't read a lot of it. I was just really into the video game, and then I was at a comic store with my dad and I saw it there, so I got it and I read a handful of issues. But aside from that, I never really read comic books growing up. But what I did do is consume a lot of superhero TV shows. So I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, so I was lucky enough to experience shows like X-Men, the animated series, Spider-Man, Batman, all those 90s era comic book cartoons. And I absolutely love them. I ate them up so much. Most of all, Spider-Man. Spider-Man has always been one of my favorite superheroes and still is to this day. So even though I never really read a lot of comic books growing up, I was exposed to a lot of comic book related content, such as the animated shows, and then of course the movies as they started coming out, like the original X-Men from Fox, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, even the Ben Affleck Daredevil, Elektra, that Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, Blade, all of those. When it came to like TV shows and movies, I was all about superheroes, loved it. And I still am to this day. And then my dad, who actually was very much into comic books growing up, would always talk to me about some of his favorite comic book stories, certain events that would happen, you know, like Civil War, stuff like that. So even without actually reading a lot of comics growing up, I was exposed to a lot of knowledge regarding them, whether it be, you know, through the movies and shows or from what my dad would tell me. Yeah, so for somebody who only recently started getting into actually reading comic books, I have a decent amount of comic book knowledge for as far as superheroes go. And you know what else actually, if we're talking about my very first exposure to superhero stuff, I want to say it was this really old live action Spider-Man. I don't know if it was a movie or not, but it was a live action. It was like really cheesy. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think back of my earliest memories of anything superhero related. I remember very vaguely this movie, I think it was Condor. It's about this dude and he had this like bird costume. I want to say it was the Condor. I could be wrong. It was a long time ago, so my memory's a little spotty. And then of course I've seen a lot of the old 60s Spider-Man. All right, so that's a little bit of history of me and comic book related stuff, not specifically comic books, but you know, comic book characters. So in terms of what I have read, the problem with it for me is really just time, because I also have a full-time job. I do reaction videos, so sometimes it could be hard to find the time to sit down and read. And not only that, I'll get a few episodes in and then I won't get a chance to read any for a little while later, and then when I go back to it I have to remember what happened, so I might have to reread something. And so it could be a little tedious sometimes for me when it comes to actually reading them. Figured if I start doing reviews on them, it might kind of motivate me to stay focused in on it because you guys are wanting to hear me talk about what I've read. So I think doing reviews might actually help me stay more consistent on reading them. At least that's my hope. All right, so some comics that I have read are, let's see here. I read The Watchmen. Before the movie came out. I heard it was coming out. My dad told me that it was based off of a comic, so I was curious about it. I went and got the graphic novel, read it, loved it. I think that might have been the first comic I read start to finish. It was either that or Marvel 1602, which was also a really good read. I think it was is it Neil Gaiman or Neil Gaiman? I usually say Gaiman. Just let me know in the comments what the correct way to say his last name is. But yeah, I really like Marvel 1602. Let's see what else. Flashpoint. I've read Flashpoint, which is a really good story. I've read the New 52 Swamp Thing. I've read part of New 52 Batman, not all of it, but a chunk of it, a couple story arcs worth. Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow, what the new movie is kind of adapting, or at least based partially on. So that one I started reading when they were releasing the issues. So I didn't even know they were making a Supergirl movie at this point in time, and I don't even know if it was announced at that time. But anyway, it was during the phase where I was wanting to start reading more comics. So I'd go to the comic store, find an interesting looking issue 1 to see if I wanted to continue on with it, and that one just drew me in for some reason. I really liked it a lot. So I actually kept up with that on a week-to-week basis, or whenever each issue is released. I don't think it was once a week, but I think it was a 10-issue miniseries. But anyway, I have all of them. I have the whole series in single issue form. But that was a really fun read, and I'm excited for the movie to come out as well. I've read a handful of Spider-Man stories. I've read most of the most recent one. No, I don't think so, because recently they came out with a new issue 1. I still get a little confused about how that works when they do a new issue 1. Because a lot of times it just follows along with the previous one. It's like they just wanted to release a new issue 1 or something like that. But anyway, it was kind of like the gang war story. I know in terms of Spider-Man, I am aware of the fact that not a lot of fans are too happy with where the Spider-Man comics are going, specifically the Amazing Spider-Man. So okay, here's my take on Spider-Man comics, right? I know a lot about Spider-Man, but not necessarily from reading Spider-Man comics. We're talking just from like the animated series, the movies, whatever my dad told me about the comics. So I don't have the exact same perspective of having read these stories throughout the years and just not being happy with where it is. With that being said, I did find the last run. Who's it by? I suppose I should start learning the popular writers and artists if I'm going to be doing comic book reviews. Okay, so yeah, it looks like Zeb Wells. Is that right? Zeb Wells? But anyway, even though I haven't read a lot of previous Spider-Man comics, I did feel this was a little underwhelming, to be completely honest. And I could see how, more long-term fans of the comics themselves might not be too thrilled about it. But I didn't think it was horrible by any means, especially just coming from a person who just recently started reading comic books. So my perspective might not be the same as somebody who's been reading it for years. And that also brings me to say that Spider-Man is one character that I want to read a lot more into as far as when it comes to reading comics. And I know there's a lot. I know Spider-Man's been around for so long. What's it, 60s? There's so many stories. So I'm going to be relying on you guys to let me know what specific Spider-Man stories I should read, if there's specific runs that are definitely worth the read, or storylines, something where I could get a collected volume and, really dig into it. Because, I trust you guys to know what's good. So I have read a bit of that, but aside from the current main run, I am wanting to dig more deep into the character itself and really consume a lot of the iconic storylines that people love so much, or any key important stories that as a Spider-Man fan I should read. So for those of you guys out there looking to give me suggestions, Spider-Man, suggest good Spider-Man stories for me to read. I want to do that. Let's see what else. Saga, I've read most of Saga. I think I'm just one volume behind. I just thought it was such a weird, wacky comic. I know it's a bit graphic for a lot of people's preferences, and it might not be for everybody, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Saga. And then Invincible, I've read not all of Invincible, but most of it. That's something I'll probably finish up sometime soon. And then let's see here, Spawn. I've read maybe the first 8-9 volumes of the original Spawn. So yeah, that's on the top of my head. Those are some of the titles that I've read a bit of. Those are just some of the main ones I could think of off the top of my head. So I do apologize. I know this video is kind of all over the place. I kind of wrote down a rough script of what I wanted to talk about, but my mind kind of goes on all sorts of tangents. So sorry if this video seems a little disjointed from time to time. All right, so as far as what I'm going to start with, my first comic book review, I'm not 100% certain on. However, I think I'm going to stick with what I already have that I can read on hand. And one of that is actually, it was a gift from my dad for like a Christmas or two ago. I just haven't got around to reading it. And that is All-Star Superman. I'm pretty sure this is one of his favorite Superman stories. And I've heard good things about it as well. So I'm excited to get into this. I haven't even opened it. It's still in its packaging. So yeah, I think since I have it on hand, I think I might start with this one. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do like chapter by chapter or just complete this whole thing and do a review of it. I might segment it into sections just because it's hard for me to retain information. So I might read a section of it, do a review, do some more deep dive into what I've already read to get a better idea of the story itself. Because that's another problem I have. I'll read something, time goes by, I forget a lot of it, or I might miss something that somebody else might be able to bring to my attention. And the more I dig into some material, then the more it's going to stick in my head. So I think that's what I'll probably do. I'll probably read portions, like get to a good, stopping point within the story, and then kind of do a little deep dive into it, do some research into what I've already read, see what other people are saying about it, and then kind of, focus in for a review of it. But yeah, so I think this is what I'm going to start with. After this, I'm not sure. There are a couple more I have. I also have Doomsday Clock, the Watchmen DC crossover type thing. I know a bit about that story from my dad, and I've read the Watchmen, so hey, there's that. And Superman, I wouldn't say he's like super high up there on my favorite superhero list, but I do like the character. And a good story can easily elevate a character for me to a higher standing. So who knows, maybe that book will do it for me. Although I will say, in regards to Superman, one of my favorite TV shows of all time is Smallville. In fact, boom, Smallville. Now, I have seen all of it, all 10 seasons. I have been considering doing a rewatch series to it, where I just rewatch the show in its entirety and put it on YouTube. But I'm not sure if that's going to be something people are going to want to see, because I've already seen it before. Granted, it's been pretty much since the series ended that I watched it. So, I mean, I feel like enough time has passed for me to get back into it if I wanted to. I do have a video talking about just that I plan on doing it. It's just kind of been on the back burner for a while, so I didn't get a whole lot of feedback on that video. So hey, if I get more feedback on this video, maybe it'll encourage me to do it. We'll see. But yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to run that by you guys. My intention to do comic book reviews. If you guys have any input, advice, some stories you'd like me to read, definitely leave in the comments below. I'd be happy to check them out. Hopefully this kind of catches on and people are interested enough for me to want to continue to do it. And with all that being said, if you like the idea of me doing comic book reviews, leave this video a like, drop me a comment, and we'll catch you guys next time, hopefully for a comic book review. Also, if you are interested, I am currently watching One Piece Season 2 live action. If I remember, I'll put a playlist right up here for you guys to check out. So if you are into that show, go check that out. I just posted episode 6, so there's 2 more episodes after that before it's complete. So go and check that out, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good day.